And action. Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Action Podcast. And today we are reviewing the one and only Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Obviously, this was a major release, so no other films were released at the same time. Definitely a lot of hype, wondering where this is going to fit in overall. But Pete, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on this film?
Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This is the last installment of this, at least for the foreseeable future of this this sort of mini franchise within the largest franchise of all time. James Gunn, the director and writer of this, is also moving on. He's switching teams, going over to the dark side, over to DC after this. So it's almost like a send-off for him. I think that this movie was at its core was really funny. I laughed through the whole thing. I mean, and that is just a testament to the writing of this and the characters that have developed, not just in these three movies, but in all of the other MCU movies that the Guardians have been a part of. We know these characters, we love them. I think in terms of a final movie in a franchise, this is one of the weakest that I've seen. I don't think that this, and I'm coming from somebody who doesn't know anything about the comic book world, about what could be a potential future of a Marvel in phases 5 and 6 and 7 and beyond. But as a Guardians of the Galaxy sort of mini franchise, it didn't feel like it contributed anything to a potential future. I mean, I did set up like, okay, Rocket's going to be the leader. Spoiler, sorry. And it's there are pieces that you're like, okay, we can do something with that. But I mean, the villain I didn't care about him at all. I thought it was just, it just didn't have any kind of real impact on me, even though I know that he was attached to Rocket's creation and life. I just didn't really feel how that character was important. Again, without any sort of backstory. I thought the Rocket backstory as a part of, I thought that was a separate movie and everything else kind of going on around it, even though, the point was to try to save Rocket. I don't know. It felt clunky in a way. Like it just really didn't flow from start to finish. I thought the character, his name Warlock.
Adam
Warlock. I thought he was massively underutilized. I thought he just kind of showed up and then left, and then kind of showed up and then kind of left, and then they put him at the very end, like, "Oh, you're part of the team now." I don't know. Like, again, hilarious movie, really, really funny. I just don't know if this was a great send off to this Guardians regime. Really, I think I don't know, sort of missed the boat a little bit, but it's good. I mean, if you're an MCU fan, you're going to love it. And if you love comedy, then you're going to laugh.
Did you see it once or twice?
I saw it twice.
Oh, okay.
And I rarely see a movie twice, just because I saw it the first time and I was like, what did I just see? Like I didn't, because I didn't anticipate that as what I was about to see. And I'm like, I got to see it again because I had to have missed something. Maybe I fell asleep in the theater and didn't remember, but I didn't. And I didn't miss anything. Like I saw what I saw. Some great moments, some great things. Like somebody told me that they even cried in this movie, and when I watched it for the second time, I'm like, well, what are you crying about? Like, what is the sadness that I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I want to watch it again because I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I didn't have. This is highly rated, first of all, and it's well received. Like a lot of people do love this. So, anything I'm about to say is kind of the same thing. I definitely am not saying don't see this or have a negative review on it. I didn't. So the whole movie, I'm trying to figure out how this connects to
exactly
this storyline that they've created. How does this build off of Ant-Man? How does this build off of
Wasn't there right? We just saw Ant-Man, and you were the one that pointed out to me like the significance of Ant-Man No, you don't understand, Pete. Like, this is the significance of it. I didn't get that impression from this one. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so the whole time I'm just trying to wait for that moment of where this connects. And I think that distracted me. But even still, it's just I guess it's just confusing why this movie came out now, right after Ant-Man. Like, why didn't you release this before Ant-Man? And then we're not so confused because we don't, if it's supposed to be separate and not
Yeah.
really tie into the universe, I think that's fine. And even promote it that way too, just so it's like, but I don't understand why it came out now. And I think that's kind of my biggest knock on it is the timing of it, because again, what Marvel does so well is the connection of everything, and that's what this movie didn't do at all, is connect. And I agree with you. It was funny.
Yeah.
It could have probably been a little bit more enjoyable. I like kind of some of this old school sci-fi, like with the production design and definitely felt kind of like an old school sci-fi movie in a way. But again, I just didn't know what I was watching, and I think it distracted me instead of just enjoying the movie for what it was. But again,
Yeah.
that's also Marvel's fault in terms of, because that's what the expectations they set us up. Like we talked
They
about,
really did.
yeah, like we talked about M. Night Shyamalan a couple movies ago, right? Knock on the Cabin. And when you have a rep for something and then you don't go for that rep, that can kind of affect your audience a little bit. So sometimes
Yeah.
it worked, but it worked for Knock on the Cabin. I don't think it worked here because it's just like, wait, so well, oh, that's it. Like so this really did not connect at all. Again, I think you could have done just Guardians of the Galaxy 3 an origin story or something. I don't know. It just seemed like you didn't need to make it volume 3.
Yeah. I mean, again, it just felt rushed. It felt in terms of like the production of it, like, let's just get this number 3 out. We got to get it out quick. And it's clunky, like I said. I will say that the individual characters by themselves, like Drax is always great. Like, he's always just so funny. It was great seeing Nathan Fillion in there, from Castle and Firefly fame. Great to see him in a film again, and he was very funny as well as the head
Security guy.
yeah, the head security guy. I thought Mantis was fine. You know what I mean? I thought Groot was cool because, spoiler, fast forward 3, 2, 1. Groot says something other than "I am Groot," at the end of this movie for the first time, like, ever, which was kind of a nice little kind of touch at the end of the film. Nebula, I've never liked her. I don't know. Like, she just bothers me. Like, she should, and I get it, she's been tortured her whole life, so why wouldn't she be always angry? But I don't know, there's just a point where I want her to not just be angry anymore, but that's my own personal thing. I still feel like the individual characters in this film were very good, and I thought they performed very well. I thought that they set up like kind of like what their journeys need to be, and they all split up, and I get it, but anyways, we can hassle this all day.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think our both result is go see it and try and just watch it for itself. There's no bigger picture to it. So,
Right.
awesome. Well, with that, Pete, because we have a shorter episode today, we're going to do our top 5 Chris Pratt roles, just to spice up this episode a little bit. And yeah, we'll do our normal 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 each, and then go down. So I'll start with you, Pete.
Yeah. No,
Number
why don't
5?
you go ahead and start with number 5?
So I did
Since I went first on the actual talking of the movie.
All right, sounds good. I did a slash just because it's 2 smaller roles.
Right.
So I slash them because I like them. I think the movies themselves are better than the Chris Pratt's role in them. But I loved the fact that he did the role in these bigger films, if that makes sense. So I did a slash just to give both the nod. But I did Moneyball and I did Zero Dark 30. And again, he's Scott Hatterberg in Moneyball, and in Zero Dark 30, he's one of the dev group guys. He's a small he's part of the excursion team at the end. But again, 2 small roles, but the movies themselves are fantastic. And I do think he was great in the small amount that he was in, but I want to give a shout out to both those films because they're both excellent films. and
Wow.
two of my favorite films.
Yeah. Okay, my number five, I put just for the potential of this new IP that he's a part of, and I put Super Mario Brothers just because I think that there's a huge. I thought that he did so much more than people bashed him for before even saying anything.
I think that
Like
was
they ripped him apart without even seeing it, and I thought that in the box office shows how amazing that film is.
yeah.
Um,
I put that number 4. So
that's my number. Okay, so that's your number four. My number four is the in terms of roles is the Jurassic Park ones, just because it's a huge franchise, and I thought he did as good as he could have done, despite the obvious shortcomings of the films.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
my number four.
I put Parks and Rec just because I really loved him as Andy. That's really where most people know him from, and you really got to see obviously his comedic chops, and I think that's the role obviously that started it all, and you know, so you got to put
Mhm.
Parks and Rec on there. That's my 3.
That was your three. My three is Moneyball. Even though it was a smaller role, I thought he did something that I mean, this was one of his earlier roles. I think this was even before Parks and Rec, but there was an innocence to him, and I thought that his impact as that character, even in the story itself, was significant. And I thought you went on a journey with him. You felt the pain of his injuries and the struggle that he had to go through to get to where he got, and then to be the hero at the end was just I love that movie. Moneyball is one of my favorite movies
Yeah,
ever.
sure. He was already in Parks and Rec, but yeah, it's still one of
Oh, he
his.
was already there? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, still a good role. Yeah,
Yeah.
my number 2 is Terminal List, and that's on Amazon if you haven't seen that yet.
I haven't seen it. I couldn't put it on my list, but yeah, it's
But this is kind of like the new age, I think, what he really thrives on, which is kind of that special forces type. Because he's very physical actor. You know what I mean? He's not a small
mhm.
guy. He's in good shape, but then he looks like a special forces guy. Plus, at his comedic chops and his acting skills, and he's just one of the better. Like you put him in anything military, I'm gonna love it. And
He,
Terminal List,
he'll crush every time for
yeah,
sure.
and Terminal List and also I think it was one of his better acting roles because it's a pretty heavy storyline. And if you haven't checked it out yet, it's on Amazon, but it's a great series. One that I just went through very fast. It was very good. Taylor
Yeah,
is
it's
in
on
it as
my
well.
ever growing list of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Number two for me is the Guardians franchise and that character. You can't not have it in your top two. I mean, I'm sure most people have it at number one, but
Yeah.
spoiler, my number one is Parks and Rec because I think that made him, and he's so funny and stupid that I don't think there's a lot of people that could have pulled off that role to that level.
Yeah.
And then after that role, you start to see him in all these very serious, like you said, like these military films and then Guardians and stuff like that. I just think that it's a lot easier for a comedic actor to go into like a dramatic kind of roles, but I
Absolutely.
think he's a significant player in today's world, and he's really talented and funny and great
Yeah.
actor.
Absolutely. Yeah. My number one, like you mentioned, just for the sheer role. I mean, he's obviously, yeah, the sheer scope of the roles, Star-Lord, Guardians of the Galaxy, for all the reasons that you just said. Um, I think that's what legitimately turned him into an A-lister. He went from being a very known actor into an A-list actor, and now, add on Jurassic Park, and you did. I kept Jurassic Park off just so people are curious. It's because I just think the films, I enjoy the films. I don't think it's just not his best role. I
Yeah,
don't, I
yeah,
don't
but
think,
it's fine, right?
I think he
Like,
adds, don't get me wrong. I think he adds to the film. Like, I'm glad he's in the film, but it's just the roles themselves. Again, yeah, I just don't think it's his best. So I'm not saying
Yeah,
that's making sense. I'm not saying he's bad in it. I'm just saying I think his other roles that I pit are better than that. That's all.
can't argue.
Yeah. All right, Pete.
Cool, man.
Well, that's going to wrap us up here. I think we are going to take a break from the weekly one next week because we don't have any big releases.
Yeah, there's really nothing. I mean, I'm going to see a bunch of these smaller films that have come out, and if there's something of significance that just really blows my mind, there's some potential, but there's not a...
Hypnotic. Yeah, Hypnotic is the main one with Ben Affleck. If that one...
I'm curious about Knights of the Zodiac a little bit.
I didn't even see that. The other one I saw was Fool's Paradise with Charlie Day. Yeah. That one could be very good. So we may end up doing this, but we'll see. It's going to be up in the air whether we don't.
One of our heroes has a movie, Michael J. Fox, on Apple Plus TV coming out. So I always like to see him. He's like one of my favorites. So
yeah, for sure.
But we got X coming up.
That, we have Fast Furious
2 weeks.
So that's the main one. So we're either going to munch all these together into that one. Good news, I've already started editing the Home Alone, so that'll be coming out this week. And actually, no, I'm editing it right now. And so that one will finally come out. And then, so we'll get all those other ones on the way. So with that, Pete, that is a cut. Thanks, guys.